I'm told we could start. Welcome everyone to today's webinar. I'm Bhargavi Janadula and I'm a student at the ISB PGP class of 2023. I'm excited to be the host for the live webinar brought to you by Unacademy in partnership with the Indian School of Business. Unacademy is India's largest online test prep learning platform with over 120 plus categories. They are soon launching GRE and GMAT courses on the platform for all the learners who want to get into prestigious institutions such as ISB. On that note, we bring to you this information session by the ISB team to help you successfully crack your admission process. Our presenter today is Richa Agrawal, who is leading the ISB PGP admissions team. The goal for this webinar is to provide you with a comprehensive understanding of the admissions process for ISB and to help you make informed decisions about your next steps. Whether you're a beginner or have some experience with the topic, this webinar will have something for everyone. We will be covering a wide range of topics from the importance of GMAT and GRE to other important aspects of ISB's application process. So sit back, relax, and get ready to learn something new. Thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to having an interactive and information session. Thank you. Over to you, Richa.
Great. Thanks, Bhargavi. And welcome, learners, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Thank you for joining us today. It's a pleasure to be interacting with you guys. And to start with, we give you a quick introduction about ISB, origin story of ISB, what is PGP program, the admission process, and Bhargavi and we will give you perspectives and the experience of what ISB can do to your professional career, right? So sharing my screen. So let's begin with the origin story of ISB, guys. So ISB is 20 years old and we started out in 2001. But when we started out, we started with one single vision of being the topmost business school, right? With the focus of research and creating future leadership. So we thought, rather than reinventing the wheel, to partner with already the existing players. And we partnered with Kellogg's and Wharton. They are our founding associate B schools. Not just Kellogg's and Wharton, we also partnered with LBS and MIT. LBS and MIT are the foremost school known for their focus on research. Finally, we also partnered with Fletcher School. Fletcher School is known for its law and legal practices. That's where ISB gets its public policy expertise from. All in all, not just these 5 business schools, but we also have collaboration with 50 other B schools, wherein we have visiting faculty coming in to deliver the PGP program. We have various student exchange programs, and the curriculum of PGP is inspired by their research centers. Moving on, I talked about being the topmost global school, right? So yes, in very less time, ISB is just 20 years old, and in very less time, or rather ISB is the youngest B school to be appearing in the FT list. Not just appearing in the FT list, we've been topping the charts for a while now. We're number 1 in the country, we're number 4 in Asia, number 32 in the world. We're also number 1 in the world for the highest salary growth that we have to offer to its students. And not just FT rankings, be it Forbes, be it Bloomberg's, we have been ranked as number 1 B school in the country by many other institutes as well. All in all, ISB has been successfully delivering the topmost global management program, the MBA program, to its students in the heart of the country. And to also mention, ISB was the first player to be introducing the 1-year PGP program in the country. So we are the pioneers to be launching the 1-year MBA program, which is slightly more different from the MIM. We'll talk more about the 1 year versus 2 years with Bhargavi post this presentation. So yes, talking about what makes us unique and what makes us the top-notch school in the country, let's talk about the faculty. I did talk about visiting faculty, but not just that. We have a very unique portfolio, which we call it as a portfolio model, wherein we have resident faculty, we have visiting faculty, we have clinical faculty. Resident faculty, fairly simple. We have 70 plus teaching faculty who are either on the Hyderabad or the Mohali campuses. Visiting faculty are these 200 plus faculty who visit from these 50 plus colleges that we have collaboration with to come and deliver the program for you. Clinical faculty, slightly different. They are not necessarily faculty of the colleges, but they're industry experts. They're subject matter experts. For example, all of us have heard of NASA, right? So who was the former chief knowledge officer of NASA? Dr. Edward Roger. Now, Dr. Edward Roger has been serving NASA for over 2 decades. He retired from this position last year, but has been teaching at ISB as a clinical faculty for over a decade. And what does he teaches? He teaches managing business complexity. So imagine understanding, learning, experiencing a subject like managing business complexity from a rocket scientist himself. So that's what we mean when we say clinical faculty. They help you understand the application-based learning, how to apply your learning real life in the organizations. All in all, you get to learn from the best, not just in India, but in global schools, also from various organizations, not just colleges. Moving on from faculty, what's the learning looks like, right? So it's an integrated learning. The 1 year classroom learning is going to be important. Case methodology, yes. It has 8 terms, 10 specializations, 14 core, 80 electives, etc., etc. That is a typical MBA classroom structure. But what is also important is your outside classroom learning. Now here it's a 3-pronged approach. One, which we call it as a peer networking. You have a robust, a very potent class of 900 students who represent multi-industry, multi-functions, also a range of experiences. We will show you the class profile in the next slide, but you get to learn from each other's perspectives. We have various social clubs, professional clubs on the campus. You can be part of one or many of these clubs based on your interest. And yes, we conduct a lot of seminars and conferences, which gives you an opportunity, a platform to learn from one another. Talking of events and competitions, there are various flagship events that these clubs organize, which will help you network with industry experts, alums, other college students, etc. We have competitions at global level as well. A bunch of students recently won a gold award at Singapore, and a bunch of students also won recently a case comp at Amazon and HUL. So these are opportunities for you to learn not just within the classroom, but outside classroom. Benchmark your knowledge at the national and the international level as well. The third and the final, which is the applied learning, which means for working professionals, yes, ISB does not offer internships because you already have prior work experience when you join the PGP program. But we still give you ELPs, the Experiential Learning Pro, which is a live business project, which you'll be working with the organization for about 2 to 3 months with a faculty mentor be assigned to you. And this is an opportunity for you to build your expertise in any industry, any function you want to switch into. For entrepreneurs, we have planning and entrepreneurial venture module, which is offered by the 2 incubation cells that we have, one on Hyderabad campus, one on Mohali campus. So right from the ideation to the execution and everything in between, which could be creating a pitch, how to pitch it to the VCs, giving you access to the network, raising funds, assigning you a mentor. All of this is taken care by ISB. In short, we ensure that you are connected with the industry and you are able to apply your learning constantly. Moving on from the learning aspect, a quick sneak peek of how the class profile looks like. So this is the class profile of the current batch, which is on the campus. Very interesting data points. If you look at the gender diversity or the academic diversity, we are the only school in the country who's at the Harvard school standards, right? We have the 60-40 ratio, unlike the other Ivy schools, which are at the 90-10. Very interesting data point again. Look at the demographics. We have a range of experience and the range of age bracket that you look at. So we have folks with 2 to 24 years of working experience. So that's the kind of richness in classroom discussions that you go through. Also looking at the GMAT GRE. So once you started preparing for the GMAT GRE, do not just focus on that one right score. Often students ask us, what is that one right score to crack ISB? And the answer is that there is no one right score. It's a range of scores in which the students have been admitted because it's a holistic profile that ISB looks at. It is very important what you holistically bring to the table, right? So for GMAT, 610 to 780 is the range of scores on which the students have been recruited this year. For GRE, it's 306 to 339, right? So if you see, it's a range of scores. You could be in any of this range and build on other aspects of your portfolio. Again, a quick snapshot. So for all of those who have questions about, oh, I'm a lawyer, I'm a doctor, I'm a very niche profile. I do not come from a very conventional 9-to-5 corporate life. Do I still stand a chance in the ISB PGP? And the answer is yes. In the current class, we have a 4G, we have an influencer, we have a sports person, Ajay Jairam, who's a world ace shuttler, ranked 13. All of these professionals come from very unconventional background. They're extreme diversity cases, right? However, what they share in common is their why MBA story, how MBA will benefit in their career aspiration. Ultimately, that is what is going to matter. All 900 of y'all will ultimately share that one common emotion of what is it that you're going to take from the ISB community? How are you going to leverage this platform to move to point B in your transition? Moving on to the next important bit, which is the privileges once you become an alumni, right? So in 20 years, ISB has become a very formidable, strong network of 13,500 plus alums, and a very potent one as well. If you look at the data, we have over 500 alums who are already the CXO position, over 600 alums who are already entrepreneurs, and we've got 12 unicorns co-founded by ISB alums. Two important data points here to keep in mind. One, if you look at, a lot of students ask that if they want to transition into international boundaries, which is beyond India, is it possible? Will ISB PGP give them that opportunity? Look at the data point, about 21% of our alums are based outside of the country, which means that they have been able to successfully transition either through direct placement or either gradually through lateral recruitment. They have been able to make those inroads in various countries. And second, ISB believes in lifelong learning. A lot of students reach out to us, whether they can sit through classes, whether they can attend classes after graduating. The answer is yes. We do. While you can audit the classes on the campus, we also have special interest groups wherein they conduct various workshops in collaboration with ISB faculty or our visiting faculty who are traveling from various countries, wherein they conduct a day or a day too long masterclasses, workshops, which gives you a networking opportunity with them, also to unlearn and relearn what's new, what's trending, what's new in the market. So it's a great learning opportunity that this platform provides to our students and alums. Moving on finally to the facility, guys. So 1 year you're going to be on the Hyderabad campus or the Mohali campus. It's a one school, two campus, but one experience. The student life is just the same across each of these campuses, right? The admissions process is integrated, which means you only apply to ISB. The final allocation of the campus is made to you, keeping the diversity in mind, so that we ensure that not all engineers end up being on one campus, not all entrepreneurs being on another. We want to ensure that your learning experience is just the same, irrespective of the campus you're on, right? So the final allocation is done basis the diversity. Second, it's an integrated recruitment process, which means each year, all 900 students are either going through the placements at the Hyderabad campus or the Mohali campus. Even the recruiters do not have access to which campus you come from. All they know that they're recruiting ISB students. Even the final award of the degree does not make a mention of the campus. Your alum status, your alum card does not make a mention of the campus. You are an ISB student and you will be an ISB alum, right? And that's what is going to be important. However, we will also give you a learning opportunity, which is we have inter-campus exchange programs. So the Mohali students get to spend one term on the Hyderabad campus and vice versa. So there are enough and more opportunities to network between the campuses as well. So these were about the various important learning aspects. Now coming to the final piece, the final leg, which is the placements, right? Which is why ISB is very, very reputed. We are world number one when it comes to the best salary growth that we give to our students. So let's look at what makes us that number one, right? 900 students, over 2,000 plus offer letters, which essentially means each student has more than 2 offer letters. On an average, 34 lakhs is the salary, the CTC. The pre-ISB, post-ISB salary growth is an average 175% growth. Right? On an extreme right-hand side, you see a Venn diagram. And this is for all of those who have questions about, can I make an industry shift? Can I make a functional shift by this program? And the answer is yes. 79% of our students have seen an industry shift. Approximately 79% of them have seen a functional shift. Both industry and functional, about 65% of them. So yes, ISB PGP provides you the platform to transition into any role, any position of your choice. Coming to how to apply to the program, right? So it's a beautiful format. Not just those who've got more than 2 years of experience, they are the direct admits. We also have something called the deferred admission process. Now, what is this? So if you've completed your graduation and have less than 2 years of experience, you can apply to the PGP program through the early entry route. Here, you will go through the interview process, and once you're shortlisted, you get a deferred admission, which means you can join the subsequent or the batch when you are completed your 24 months of experience. We have the third entry route, which is the YLP, the Young Leader Program, which is exclusively designed for college students who are in their final or pre-final year. They can also apply to the PGP program through the YLP route. Only for YLP, we have slightly different process, which means at this stage right now, you can apply without a GMAT GRE score, and we will give you an additional 6 months time to submit your score to us. After you submitted the score to us, that's when we'll schedule your interview. You go through the interview process, etc. And once you're shortlisted, you will also get the deferred admission to join the program after you've completed 20 months. Only for YLP, it's 20 months because we understand pan-India, there are a couple of universities wherein the graduation happens or the college tenure happens in the month of May, June, and PGP program starts every April, so that we can accommodate those 2-3 months loss. For YLP, 20 months is acceptable. So these are the 3 entry routes to apply to the PGP program. And we have scholarships for all of them. Whether you are a direct admit, YLP or an EO admit, all of you all can pitch your case for scholarships. There are various buckets. We have merit-based, need-based, diversity waivers. Merit is fairly simple. All applicants are going to be evaluated on merit basis, right? You have your application score, you have your interview score, so you get your profile score, which is your merit list. Now, the top, let's say the top 4-5, the top XYZ candidates are the merit listers. They get the merit scholarship. Need-based is for those wherein the family income is less than 18 lakhs. You can pitch your case for need-based. Diversity is a very, very open-ended and very creative space where you can present and showcase your strengths in the application form, right? Each student can present the case for all 3 buckets, merit, need, and diversity, or any one of them. The choice is yours. However, the final award of scholarship is going to be only one. You will either get merit, need, or diversity, whichever is the maximum. Wherever you've scored the maximum points, that scholarship will be awarded to you. Scholarships are also awarded for all the rounds. There are 3 rounds. R1 typically happens in September. R2 typically happens in December. R3 is Jan. All 3 rounds are eligible for scholarships. However, the percentage varies a little bit. So finally, the upcoming deadline is 29th. So for all of those who already have started working for the GMAT GRE, guys, the admission cycle for class of 24 is open and you can gun your case. So with that, I'll draw close to the presentation. Over to you, Bhargavi. If you have questions for me, please bring them on.
Thank you so much for that presentation, Richa. There are a bunch of questions. How does ISB support international students and their process throughout the one-year program?
Great. So is the process with respect to the admission process, particularly, or the...
As in both of them, maybe if there are international students.
Yes.
How is ISB looking at their admission process and also their journey?
Right. Great. So for international students, the process is the same, guys, right? They have to have a valid GMAT GRE score. They will submit the same application form, the 2 essays, the 1 LOR. So there's no such exception made for them. Yes, the process remains the same. They will apply to the same portal. Yes. For international students, what we do differently is that for international students, it's done on a rolling basis because we understand that the visa processing, etc., can take time. So for international students, we will do it on your interview, and your announcement of results will not be in sync with the regular domestic students. That will be done on a rolling basis. So there is a little deviation, but otherwise everything else remains the same. Second, we also have exclusive scholarship buckets. There is also a 4th category, which I did not talk about right now, but it's largely for international. We call it as international diversity. So you could be an international passport holder, a citizen of any other country, or an expat. So you are eligible to pitch your case in international diversity. In fact, we have a special scholarship, which is Bridge to India scholarship for all of those Indians who settled abroad but want to come back to your country, want to pursue this program so that you can, after the completion of the program, contribute to your country. So we have something called Bridge to India scholarships. So we have a bunch of scholarships for our international candidates as well. So this is at the admission stage. However, coming to the program experience, again, here there is not much major differentiation. Even the international students will have to, guys, go through the same grind. There is no exception with respect to case submissions or the credits that or the GPA that they have to secure for these courses or the placement process. Everything remains the same. However, yes, we have a dedicated team, which is the SEAL, which takes care of course, you settling in the new country and any support that you need. All of this will be taken care by the SEAL team. It's a dedicated team to help the students, but the experience remains the same. No exceptions there. You will go through the same rigor and the grind, just like any other 900 student in the classroom. Hope I covered that, Bhargavi. If you have any additional questions, feel free to post them.
Thank you so much. There's another question that's talking about the acceptance rate of the program and what are the factors that ISB looks at when ISB is taking students in.
Right. Very important question. A lot of students do ask us, what are the number of applications that we get vis-a-vis offers, etc. So guys, we have the answer for all of these questions, but let's just put it this way that it's only that one seat you should focus on, guys, right? Don't worry about what's the number of application vis-a-vis how many finally make it, which is conversion rate. You just focus on that one seat in the class that you have to gun for. Right? Why should that one seat be given to you? Coming to the second part, what is it that ISB looks for? So when I started my presentation, I had talked about the mission statement of ISB, right? Research focus, being the topmost business school, and third was creating leaders for today and tomorrow, right? So ISB is looking at leadership potential. So if you are an EO or a YLP or somebody who's got less than 5 years of work experience, in your application, we are looking for leadership potential. And for those who've got more than 5 years of experience, where you can talk about your work experience at length, there we're looking at proven leadership trajectory, right? So what is it? I will further break it down that which all parameters we look at, right? There's also a myth in the market that, there's a lot of impetus which is given to the scores. Yes, the scores are important, but they're just one of the elements. The first thing that we look at is your essay. There are 2 essays. The first essay is about you, the unique you, what you bring to the table. How are you going to contribute to your class, the community? How are you going to contribute to the peer learning? Put simply, talk about your strengths. So the essays are very important. We want to understand your why MBA, why ISB story. Why do you want to join us in this journey? So both your essays are very critical. The LOR, we need one LOR, one letter of recommendation from your mentor, your reporting manager to understand you better, your strengths and your weaknesses. So it's very important. That letter of recommendation is very important for our process. Then comes the GMAT GRE, right? And we understand that these scores or these grades are not a reflection of you being a leader, and therefore not much impetus is given to the other aspects. However, since this program is a postgraduate program delivered in English, we don't need your IELTS. Therefore, it is mandatory for us to verify your 10th, 12th graduation details so that you've successfully completed the program in English, you have successfully completed your graduation, and you're eligible to do a post-graduation program. So that's a hygiene check that we want to ensure. And the fifth and the largest part, how your career progression has been, right? How you started vis-a-vis where you are. Now, I'm not talking about designations, number of promotions, salaries. I am talking about how you have evolved, how you as a professional have evolved. When you started out, you were possibly handling A, B, C, D activities. Vis-a-vis now, after X number of years, you have been given additional responsibilities, which immediately tells us that your leadership has shown confidence in you, has seen potential in you. So that is more important. You could be a manager then, you could be a manager now, you could be an associate then or an executive then, you're still holding the same designation, but your profile has evolved. That is more important to us. So your career progression, these 5 pointers are very important. These are the 5 elements on which your application is graded. And then comes the sixth point, which is the interview. So interview is an amalgamation, a concoction of all of this, whatever you've written in your application form. That's where on those bases, on those parameters only, you will be interviewed by our alums. So your interview score gets added. So you have application score, you have interview score, both the scores put together gives you a combined score. So that's how the process looks like, more or less. Sorry for a long-winded answer, but it was a very important one, so I thought I'll spend some time there.
No, that was very comprehensive. You've actually covered the next 3 questions to me.
Fantastic. Okay.
So there's one that's asking about what are the classic mistakes that the applicants make?
What are the classic mistakes? Very good question. I think, given my experience, the classic mistake that some students do is, one, they don't focus too much on their essays. A lot of time is spent preparing for the GMAT GRE, the test which they are taking, and then in the delta time that is left, maybe few hours, 1 day or 1 or 2 days, that's when they try to rush in their application. So it reflects when you're reading the essays. And the second mistake that they do is that because of the paucity of time, they try to pick up templates or quotes from Google. So the essays mostly do not talk about them, does not give us a clear picture of their profile, but are mostly generic about leadership, generic about quotes from XYZ leaders. So these are the 2 common mistakes that some of the students do if they do not spend enough time in their application.
All right. Could you please elaborate the difference between the 3 rounds, R1, R2, and R3? And which one should an applicant look at and based on what?
Fantastic. Very important question. Again, thanks for asking that, Bhargavi. So guys, first, I'll take the second question. Which one you should look at? I think to each his own. Whenever you are ready. Okay, there is no difference, or there is no preferential treatment given to any round. Each round is important. If school is offering 3 rounds or XYZ rounds, it means that certain number of seats are allocated, scholarships are allocated. I'll talk about it at length in next few minutes. But which round you should apply is when you are ready. You know, given your level of preparation of the score, when you want to write the score, or suppose if you are retaking the exam. So a lot depends on your score, right? So whenever you're ready with the score, because having a score is mandatory before you apply. So whenever you're ready, go for that round. It will also depend on whether you've got a promotion, whether you've shifted into a city, any personal commitment. Everybody has a personal and professional calendar to be, taken care of. So it totally depends on you. There is no preference from school's end. Talking about how the 3 rounds look like, process is the same. Application form is just the same. Nothing changes. The essay is the same. There is one LOR. The complexity of the form does not increase or decrease across the rounds. It's just the same. Yeah, the application fee changes. In round 1, it's 5,000. Round 2, round 3 goes up to 7,500. The application fee changes, but the process doesn't change. Each of these applicants will have to go through 1 round of interview. The panelists consists of 2 to 3 alums. This also remains the same. More or less broadly, the number of seats that the school allocates is also the same, because we have 4 entry routes. We have a deferred pool, which is the YLP EO. We have round 1, round 2, round 3. So it's actually equal allocation of seats done to all the 4. However, what differs is the number of applications. Historically, or rather, if you compare any data across any school, across any country, R1, R2 is always voluminous. We get maximum applications in R1, R2. R3 gradually decreases because by then, more or less, the audiences have settled down. They've taken a decision where they're taking which school or which country they're taking admission into. So it's by nature that the number of applications reduce in R3, but it's not because that the process is difficult and therefore less people are applying. So that's what it is. The process, everything remains the same. The fee changes and scholarship. In round 1, we have up to 100% of tuition fee waiver, which is given. In round 2, 75%. In round 3, 50%, right? So this is the only difference, or this is the only advantage that the R1 folks have. Also, a very important thing, guys, if you're applying in R1, you get your results by November, which means if for an April program start date, you get 3-4 months to plan your exit strategy, to plan your finances, to take those personal decisions, whether you're bringing your family on the campus or not. All of these decisions can be made comfortably. You have enough window. R2 becomes slightly more lean. R2 results are out by February. You still have about 45 days. R3 becomes very tricky. R3 results will be announced typically by March. So you're only left with about 1 month. So for all of those folks who've got 60 days, 90 days of notice period, you will have to plan your exit strategy in advance. You will have to onboard your reporting manager or your HR in your career journey. So all of these things also becomes a little difficult, but these are from the student's perspective and based on our various conversations. Bhargavi, you can throw some light because you're also in the current class, how easy or difficult it becomes to plan all of these things if you're applying in R1 vis-a-vis R2 or vis-a-vis R3.
I think for me, the biggest difference is the amount of networking that happens before we get on campus.
Yes.
So since I was a round one applicant, I got my result by November and I started interacting with a lot of round one applicants, the YLP and EO applicants
Correct.
Then. So I had enough time for me to actually get to know a lot of them before I get on campus. So the entire networking process is, was just a little faster for me compared to those coming in R3, although they will get enough opportunities throughout the year.
Right.
But it's just like a lot of time where you get to spend with people without actually having the load of an MBA on you.
Very true. Very, very, very important data point. I agree because we've onboarded the R1 folks. We've already done one round of networking dinner with them. We've already hosted them on the campus for the jamming session and the potluck sessions. So yes, they've got enough time networking with the current class, which is class of 23, and also amongst the R1 folks, along with the deferral polls. Yeah, true. Agree.
How should one boost their profile if they're coming from a non-conventional background, let's say like humanities or fashion design? And what could they look at adding onto their profile to make sure that their application is on par with others who are coming from the cream background?
Wow, I think there's this answer hidden in the question itself, guys. If you're coming from fashion or a very niche industry, a very unconventional, you are diversity. Put simply, you're diversity candidates. So you don't have to add anything else in your profile. You just need to now beautifully stitch your essays. What is your uniqueness? Highlight that. I think it'll be very interesting to understand a lawyer's why MBA story, a fashion designer's why MBA story, how management is going to add to their portfolio. It really excites me to read those essays. So you have already caught my attention if you're a very different profile. Now, what you have to build is put your thoughts together, pen them down, start drafting it on a Word doc. Then the difficult part for you would be to trim it down to the 400 word limit, because each essay has a 400 limit. So you'll have to trim it down to 400. I think that can get tricky, but I think you're already there with respect to getting our attention. What say, Bhargavi? I think you're an influencer, and I'm sure you would have highlighted all of that because it really adds a lot of merit.
I definitely did. So for me, the entire process of ISB, I've gone through a lot of information sessions. I've interacted with quite a lot of alums. So I understood what ISB is looking for. So over the years, during COVID, it sort of gave me a lot of time for me to work on other interest areas for me that is not just work, because I'm coming with very less work experience. So I thought, I should balance it out somewhere else. And that's where I looked at trying to build a more holistic profile and trying to add more diversity into my personality as such. So like if I see where I come from, regular BCom and like tax. So from there, I'm trying to get into an MBA. And I was also like trying to, juggle between a lot of other things like my modeling bit. So I sort of made sure that I did a lot of other things that adds up onto my, essays and my profile as a whole.
Absolutely. Fantastic. I think she beautifully covered all the points, guys, that right? That if you've got less years of experience, there are other areas where you can play, because the application form gives you enough and more placeholders, hobbies, activities, other achievements. So there are three broad buckets, guys. You can play in any one or all three or any two. The first bucket is an academics bucket, right? Your 10th, 12th, graduation, GMAT, GRE. There we have those profiles who've never even touched a basketball, who've never even cycled in their life, but out and out nerds, out and out high performers, gold medalists. This is one bucket you can play in. The second bucket that you can play in is you having all of those extracurricular activities, right? You could be average to low with your academics, but very high participation, sports, dance, music. These days, there's a lot about blogging, vlogging. You could be doing all of this. So you are a diversity profile. You can bring in your diversity. The third element is, wherein let's say you've got 4-5 years of rock solid startup experience. You've seen 8 to 10 failures, right? But you've learned the basics of business. You know how to get your things done from people. You know how to start things from scratch. You've got rock solid work experience. So these are the three broad buckets. You have to be good in any one, right? Because remember that you're competing for that one seat. So present your case either in academics or diversity or take the career. You could be good in all three. Those are exceptional profiles. Not everybody presents the case in all three, are strong in all three buckets. They pick up any one. So that's the tip for you. That's the advice for you. Pick up any one and then build on it. You can pick up any two, any three. If there are two or more, very good, but any one should be, we will know by reading the application. We know that this is an out and out top performer student, or out and out, hardcore executionist, works on the ground. And the third profile are the diversity profiles, very good with extracurriculars, etc. So we get that flavor when we read your application.
There's another very important question, that is, during COVID, many students chose distance or online learning degrees over a traditional classroom program. How does ISB look at such students' profile?
Great. Again, yes, very common question. We often receive this question. So guys, we do not, again, discriminate between the distance learning, weekend learning, online learning, or you've done the in-person, especially during COVID. COVID or no COVID, there was no differentiation. And of course, we understand because of the pandemic, a lot of education was done digitally. So there will be no negative marking, or you will not be penalized if you've done something online. As long as you've successfully completed it, that's what is important for us. That's it. And when I say successfully completed, I'm not even talking about you being an outperformer or you being the top ranked in that particular course on the school. You should have successfully completed the program. That's it.
I think you've covered most of the questions that are here. Just maybe one to keep.
I have a question for you, Bhargavi. Tell us about, so I did talk about ISB, but I think the audience will also love to hear from you. What was your ISB, the why ISB story, the why MBA story?
So for me, the story is actually a little, goes back a little, I think 2019, where I attended my first info session on campus. I was honestly very thrilled by how the campus looked, because I'm from Hyderabad. So I loved how the campus was. It was very easy for me to access the campus and meet everybody. Fun fact, during that info session, I don't really remember the professor's name, but they had something related to finance and talking about how to look at securities. Right. So I was still in my undergrad, and for me, I was still trying to get hands on my finance and all of that. So it suddenly felt like I loved the way he taught the entire, securities bit. Correct. Without making it look complicated, or, where to apply, where to put in your stock markets and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So when I attended that session, I absolutely loved it. So I decided to work on it, build my profile and join Deloitte. So I sort of did everything with the sole purpose of getting into ISB. So it's been like my dream institution. Yeah. I haven't applied with anywhere else with my scores. So it's sort of been like a love story where I'm just like living the dream.
Awesome. I love it. So you did talk about your score. So, a lot of times students ask us this question, and it'll be great if you can also throw some light and help them that how did you, so when you attended this session, you were clear that this is a school you want to apply to, or rather, this is the only school you want to apply to. You did not even perhaps apply to any other school. So we were very sure you're writing GMAT or GRE for this one school.
Yes.
How do you go about your preparation, right from preparing of GMAT, GRE to building your application to the preparation of interview? Because we have a deadline which is upcoming on 29th of Jan, and I think this will really helpful to all the audience, everybody who will be listening to this. So yeah.
I think there are two ways of looking at it. One is you have a goal and you're building your way up to there. And the other one is you've done things in your life and then your goal is in front of you. So in my case, it was the first one, but this is what I've been telling quite a lot of people who've reached out to me, is that build a story.
Yeah.
So because ISB looks at your story, it's not important on what you've done, where you've done. If you can piece all of them together as your, like your final masterpiece, because it's your story that talks about you. That's one thing that I absolutely love about ISBs, because it does not look at me as a person who's coming with, let's say, a good GMAT or GRE scores, or somebody who's coming with like a background or so, but it puts all of them together and looks at you as what you're bringing onto the table. So, like I've always wanted to be seen as a person and what I, offer, than just like a few, things marked down on the checklist. So
Absolutely.
that's been like a huge differentiator for me, because very honestly, I do not want to go through a very strict percentile based and go through an interview process and then sit there. Instead, go through the entire process. And then, for that matter, my entire interview process has been completely on how I've grown as a person. It was very conversational. The interviewers made sure that I was feeling at home and, comfortable with the entire process.
Yes.
So I think from the very beginning, it sort of made me feel at home.
Yeah.
So
lovely. So, and how was and after joining your second home, ISB, how has the experience been? You're almost inching closer to your graduation in March. You've gone through the placement. So by next question, I'll definitely want to know about placements, but how's the experience been on the campus?
I think it's been amazing. I think amazing is probably an understatement. There's like loads of emotion that goes through the entire process.
Yeah.
It's like you complete one term in a month and you're just overwhelmed with a lot of things. There are like a lot of activities going on. You always want to do a lot of things, but you also have to prioritize. So you start playing around your preferences, where you want to prioritize your time. I think clearly I've been around everywhere doing everything, because I like it that way. I prefer, just being that person doing a lot of things simultaneously. So for me, I've been able to take it all. So from the academics to the events to hosting events and things like this, or talking about my experiences, I've seen it all. So for me, it's been like a fantabulous experience.
Wow, that's so important. That is so important, to not just be just sucked into your books, but to live life, enjoy the campus, do different things, because ISB will, guys, give you a lot of these opportunities, these platforms to learn and interact. So fantastic. Yeah, Pargavi, awesome.
And the other question that you asked about, now that it's coming towards the end, we left with like about 2.5 months.
Yeah.
Today I told my parents that, this is going to be the time where I'm going to say this is going to be the last party I'd be attending. It's going to be the last event I'd be doing before ISB ends. So we're already in that zone.
Yeah.
Like, we've all taken that break from work and we've come to this place where you're networking with a lot of people, learning in the classroom or outside the classroom. There's just learning going on at all times here.
Absolutely, yes.
So it's just been a whole experience that you could take back. I just feel like if only it was longer than 1 year, but...
In fact, I was so tempted to ask you that question, because even yesterday I was in Bombay doing this session, and I think somebody did ask me that, is 1 year enough? What is it that you miss out on 1 year vis-a-vis 2 years? So I think this is going to be that one, right? You want to spend more time on the campus, but I think with respect to you, you absorbed everything that you could have, right?
Yeah, that's obviously there. I mean, you'd want more time to be over here. You'd want to, let's say we look at the other MBA programs that go for 2 years. So you have the entire process of juniors meeting the seniors and that bit. So here the entire junior senior process is eliminated. It's just you and your batchmates, and you're just interacting with them, learning through their experience. And the best part is it's not that you're all coming straight out of your colleges. You had a lot of work experience that you talk about. You come with different levels of work experience.
Right.
So like now I'm coming in with like 2.5 years of work experience, while my friends are coming with like 5 years of work experience. So they have seen things that I haven't, so they can help me out through my process.
And not just that,
Anywhere,
we have like,
anything.
yeah, and we have folks with 15, 20 years of experience as well. So imagine what if in their study group, the kind of contribution of discussion and experiences that they throw in, the bring in. Absolutely, I think that's what makes ISB pretty unique from the other offerings and propositions. A lot of times students ask us that what is the difference. So there are other Ivy Leagues also which offer the same 1 year format as similar to ISB. So what makes ISB unique? I think this is what makes ISB unique. That one, look at the strength, guys. We are 900 students in 1 year, vis-a-vis 75 of the other schools. And this 900, look at the range of experience, look at the range of industries that they come from, the women diversity that is represented in the class, the engineer versus non-engineer. Look at that contribution in the class. Look at the entrepreneurial ecosystem. Look at the global exposure that is thrown into the program. We have over 80% of the faculty who come from Wharton Kellogg. They travel the world to come and teach these classes to you. We have exchange programs. Each student gets to, of course, it's an optional. They have an option to pick up a term of their choice in any one of these universities. So it has such a huge global exposure. So you don't really have to travel to Wharton, Kellogg's, etc. to do an MBA program, but vis-a-vis do the same program at 1/3 the cost right here while being with your family, and still make inroads with respect to getting a dream job, getting your job of your choice in your industry function, either through direct placements or through leveraging the alum network. So absolutely. I think ISP, that's what ISP is very, very unique with respect to its 1 year proposition. Speaking of the placements, how has your experience been? Because a lot of times students have been asking me economic downturn, ABCD, XYZ. Well, I know that the placements are still ongoing. There are still a bunch of students yet to be recruited. But how has your experience been? The placements are almost done. 90-95% of the students are placed. What was your experience?
I mean, undoubtedly it's been very, very stressful, like it usually would be. But the sweet part about it is you got placed into an area of your choice. So I was coming from a tax background, and I was very, very particular on moving to a marketing field, and ISB is where I could have done that switch. So I'm very glad that because of my placements, I got into a company that is into digital marketing. So I will get to learn a lot in that space as well. So for me, I think it's been a great experience because I got into a place that I really want, where I could learn a lot about it. And when it comes to those questions of why us, just like how ISB asks, just the same way when they ask why us. And the fact that you're coming from ISB and bringing in a lot of passion to learn something new just makes the whole difference.
True that. And also, if you could throw some light that, a lot of students ask us that we have little to no clarity of what exactly we want to do. So what is it that the kind of support that we can expect from the school, be it the CAS team or any other stakeholders who pitch in to support? So if you could throw some light on that as well, that were you always very clear that this is what you want to do, or was there support that was extended? How did you eventually build your dream to that this is what I want to do, and what was the kind of different level stages, the support that you received?
So ISB does have, it does open a lot of avenues for you. There are a lot of social and professional clubs where you can start testing, the waters and start understanding what it is. Apart from that, you also have your peers who are from that particular industry who can give you insights on the entire process of how their work experience was or how it's going to be. So I think for somebody who's coming So for me particularly, I was very clear that I wanted to get into marketing
Yeah.
and also into the media entertainment space if possible. So for me, the marketing club and the media entertainment club were very important for me because they introduced me to a lot of new things that I would not have known otherwise.
Right.
So when you join ISB, you have to decide your top three professional clubs. And when you do, you might, be a little uncertain about what you want. But then within the next 3 months, you also have the opportunity of changing your clubs based on your interest.
Yes.
So I think you can build your interests or where you want to go based on your experience in that club. If you feel like there is a lot of learning out of it, or obviously your peers are going to help you out. There are a lot of alums, like the amount of information that these alums have about a particular industry is just massive. So you could just like get onto the portal, pick an alum based on the company or profile that they're into, ping them, and then they'll be there to help you. Or you could just reach out to them on LinkedIn and they'll be there for you. So I think as a resource, there's been a lot of it.
Yeah.
I mean, ISB just offers a huge platform for you to network and get to know people. So I think any problem you have, your your one-stop solution is your alum network.
Absolutely, yeah. True that, true. Great, fantastic. I think thanks, Bhargavi. I think it is just lovely to hear your experiences. Thanks for sharing them. And
Thank you.
I think it'll bring in a lot of confidence for all of them who are preparing their ISB journey. Yeah, absolutely.
There was one question
Sure.
asking, what is the one key piece of advice you would like to give to the aspirants?
Wow. So I think all of this, I mean, I think the entire session we've been talking about, the do's and the don'ts. But I think the one thing that I would definitely want to emphasize is that, guys, while GMAT GRE, yes, is one of the parameters or one of the aspects of your application form, but what is most important is having clarity of what you want to do. Right? So understand your why MBA aspiration, ask yourself whether or not you're applying in ISB or not, but ask yourself, why am I investing this 1 year or 2 years or XYZ amount in doing this program? What is it that I want to derive out of it, right? Ask yourself these conversations, have these conversations with yourself. It's very important because once you have clarity on this, your application and your interviews taken care of, guys. Or both of these are just formalities. These are just placeholders to pen down your thoughts. But the first step or the most important thing is to have a conversation with yourself. Please spend some time asking yourself, why do I want to do an MBA? Understand that what are the things that I'm good at? If I'm currently doing an assignment A, and if I want to reach to a position B, what are my strengths that will help me get there? What are my weaknesses that can pause or delay my transition? And then build on it. Don't shy away from accepting your failures or accepting your weaknesses. It's just okay. And that's why we are here, to help you so that you can leverage ISB, right? So just focus on yourself, focus on your profile, build your strengths, present your best case, also talk about those gaps that you want to bridge and how ISB can help in. And I think that will give us a very clear picture of who you are and what you expect from ISB. I think that will make your journey very simple, your application journey or your interview journey very, very simple. So these are my 2 cents.
Thank you so much, Richa. There are just 2 last questions that we have.
Sure.
Can hotel management graduates join your college for MBA in HR?
Oh, absolutely. So you could be doing a hotel management, or you would not have done a management program at all, let's say, right? You could be a commerce background personnel, or you could be an engineer, but HR is a function that you want to move into, right? So yes, you've identified that this is a function that I want to move into. Now you will agree that all these functions cut across all the industries, right? So pick up an industry of your interest. And that is your why MBA story. That is your why ISB story. So this is how ISB will help you. This is where you want to go. You're at a position A. You want to move into position B. Talk about your current skill sets, your current strengths, which will help you get there. And what are your not so, your strengths, etc., which you want to work on. So yes, hotel management, no hotel management. You should have successfully completed any stream, any graduation. That's it. That's a mandate. That's all.
What is the criteria to get scholarships, and what do they look at to get the scholarships?
Right. So the criteria are three. There are three buckets in which you can present your case. Merit, we've talked about at length, that each candidate is evaluated on the merit basis, right? We've talked about the 5 parameters, your interview process, you get a score. So that's your merit list. The need based is we're looking at if your family income is less than 18 lakh. Now every year it changes. Last year it was 12 lakhs. This year it has increased to 18 lakhs. So every year it changes. So for need basis, your family income for this year should be less than 18 lakhs. And diversity, again, in your why you, the unique you essay, how you build your essay, the kind of hobbies, the achievements, awards, etc. that you present in your application will give you your diversity marks. So these are the 3 areas which you can pitch in. The 4th one is the international diversity, and these are for all the students who are abroad or all of those international students who want to study in India in ISB.
That's it from my end, but I would like to add something for the aspirants. Something that I've learned is because people don't give enough time for your essays. It sort of happens towards the end. You just keep procrastinating and you leave it to the last minute. One thing that I learned is that start with your essays. Make sure you sit with them for some time. Try to understand, try to find out your strengths and weaknesses, put them all together, try to build your story around it, and then present it. Because ISB wants to look at you, what you bring onto the table, and not something that's just, it's not something that could be brought out of internet, like Richa rightly said. It's mostly the feeling that you put into it, the story and emotion that you bring onto the table with, your personality. So one thing is to just go through your essays, just get them reviewed by as many people as you can. Try and see if your essay is, giving out the same meaning as you want it to, because sometimes you want to portray and convey something, but that's just not how it's seen when somebody else is reading it. So just get it reviewed by as many people as you can. So I think that just does a lot of help.
Fantastic. See, guys, you got the best tips from a current student, right? So they're the best stakeholders. They've been through the process. They've been through the grind. They know the do's and don'ts. They know they've been there, done it all. So absolutely, rightly said. Review. It's very important. Be thorough with your application. You yourself should review your application. Get it reviewed by somebody who knows you, because she said it very rightly. We think in our head that maybe this is creating an impact, but when a third person reads it, a very fresh perspective who's not been through your story before, might have a different take on that. So absolutely, bingo.
Thank you so much for your time, Richa. This has been a wonderful session.
Thank you, Bhargavi. It was a lovely
conversation.
Thank you so
much, Unacademy, for having this event with us.
And all the best, guys, for your future endeavors in your MBA pursuit. And hopefully me and Bhargavi will be hosting you all soon on the campus. So do feel free to write into us if you may have additional questions, if you are pitching your profile for our upcoming deadline, or in the future, if you're applying next year or the year later. Feel free to write to us, connect with us on LinkedIn, or drop your questions in the chat window. We'll reach out to you shortly. Thank you for your time and patience.